So thank you very much. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone, honorable guests and co-speakers. Dear hosts of this important event, my name is Martin Voss, and it's my pleasure and an honor to be presenting here as part of this panel. I'm very grateful for this opportunity to provide input to the discussion of the U20 draft communique of this year. Can you see my slides well, so that there's no technical issues?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. I'll try to be brief because we're well behind schedule, so I'll try to make some overarching inputs. First off, maybe to give you an idea of how I'm approaching this topic that's at the discussion here. We've been working on the issue of urban-rural linkages and how it can be improved for years at German Watch, and we've been doing so with partners in Asia and trying to enhance climate action through infrastructure investment mostly. And our partners from India, Indonesia, Bangladesh, and China, we collectively pursue this goal through policy research and multi-stakeholder dialogues. And the particular focus there has been the Multilateral Development Bank, AIIB, I'm very sure have heard of, the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank. And this multilateral bank, which Germany is a member of, needs to align its operations with the goals of the Paris Agreement and the SDGs. And we think that this is a good paradigm to talk about how to make investments anywhere, but also in urban regions, more sustainable. So far, we've analyzed dimensions of alignment regarding decarbonization and climate resilience building and urban infrastructure investments. All three topics were dedicated a standalone report, the cover of which you've just seen on the previous slide. The AIB is not the only development bank, of course, and all development banks and public finance and development finance institutions need to drive change, especially in the climate resilience building in this current world where multiple crises and megatrends overlap. And this is a thing where we've identified a lot of overlapping challenges that are being faced in most regions, but also in the urban field. And we think that this affects the recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic as much as the climate crisis. And we think that poor and vulnerable population groups need special attention. And especially in the time up to 2050, there's a need for investments of around 6 trillion US dollars that need to be invested in infrastructure every year. This is where development banks come in, and we think, especially in the urban field, they need to be adequately instructed to help and move us towards sustainable cities and suburban regions. So we had some guiding questions that we wanted to tackle that allowed us to develop a reference framework for climate resilient infrastructure. And there we analyzed policy strategies and guidelines that were existing at development finance institutions, in our example of AIIB, but we think that this is a good example to exercise some scrutiny and really multiply this analysis and try to take it further and instruct civil society and member countries and countries anywhere to advocate for more sustainable infrastructure investments. And the key takeaways that we've taken are that climate-related damages to infrastructure will rise running up to the end of the century if no investments are made in resilience, and especially coastal cities will be affected most. Of those, of course, those located in Asia. And so far, the requirements to enhance climate resilience are not implemented adequately by all multilateral development banks and DFIs and other public finance institutions. So we argue that to face if we shift our gaze to the urban paradigm, to face up to the key challenges that are a risk to sustainable cities. Excuse me. And there we identified that urban greenhouse gas emissions are one of the challenges. Another is the trend of urbanization, which is a key driver for land use change. And also this in hand drives social inequality, which is also particularly high in cities and urban regions. Furthermore, urban production and consumption are not sustainable. Cities are hotspots of air pollution, water contamination, and waste problems. And last but not least, there is an ongoing and exacerbating problem of traffic, which is mostly collapsing in all sprawling and growing cities and megacities around the world. So from these 5 challenges, we've identified imperatives to counteract these. And they are quickly to decarbonize and achieve net greenhouse gas neutrality, to make land use more efficient, to focus on biodiversity and ecosystems, to conserve them and restore them, then social inclusion and resilience, poverty eradication, circular economy and zero waste, and a post-fossil mobility framework. And I think it's quite apt to try to convert these into principles upon which all infrastructure investment should build. And for those principles, I think it's a good time to reflect these when it comes to developing and discussing the U20 draft communique. And I would like to quickly present them here. It's the urban net zero principle. So new settlements planned should be net zero, carbon-free buildings. Materials used should also be in line with this. Low cost, low carbon retrofitting, green electricity, post-fossil mobility, restoration, and carbon sinks are what underpin the net zero principle. We've exercised this for another 6 principles, all of which are identified and specified by an underlying 31 criteria. So it goes on to talk about climate resilience, efficient land use, nature positive, circular economy, zero waste, socially inclusive, resilient cities, and urban pro-poor principle. So the focus to generate value for the poor and the marginalized, transformation to achieve the SDGs, enabling policy frameworks supported, accessibility, affordability, participation, and transparency. We think that this is something that all constituencies of development banks should be able to check off when it comes to assessing the impact of infrastructure that's being planned. So for this, we've developed a traffic light system to gauge the sustainability of infrastructure investments. And I will not go into detail here in the interest of time, but these 7 principles underpinned by 31 criteria are a part of this traffic light system, which we in our latest report offer to civil society and constituents to assess and use as a tool to confront investors and make them accountable to the goal of aligning with the Paris Agreement, with the climate and adaptation goal, with the SDGs, with the Sendai framework, and make infrastructure investments, be they in the urban field or in rural areas, more sustainable. I'm just going to click those quickly. You can see here, this is exercised at the example of the AIIB, but really this is something that can be applied to any undertaking in this field. And if you'd like to learn more about this, feel free to get in touch with me. Feel free to check our report, which is available online. And I'd be happy to answer questions regarding this in writing or following this presentation in our discussion. Thank you very much.